What's up guys, Jord here, back with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the iPhone XS Max versus the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Is it worth it? Is it worth upgrading? Let's go. Alright, right now we got the iPhone. I probably should put these in a different order. We got the iPhone 13 Pro Max versus the iPhone XS Max. Let's have a look. So, the iPhone XS Max came out with iOS 12. Once this thing unlock, there we go. It came out with iOS 12. The iPhone 6, I was about to say 6S. The iPhone XS Max has a 6.5 inch Super Retina HD display. The iPhone 13 Pro Max has a wonderful 6.7 inch display. And yeah. It's got 5G, which the XS Max does not. And I don't know if you can see on camera, I tried to get the same wallpaper on these guys, and the 13 Pro Max is so much brighter than the XS Max. I don't know if that catches, there we go. Okay, so the XS Max came in at 625 nits of peak brightness, and the 13 Pro Max has 1000 nits of peak brightness. Also, it supports HDR. So if you're watching a video, the 13 Pro Max, it will go up to not 1300, 1200 nits, which that is pretty crazy. That, like, imagine how much brighter that is. That's almost double. And then look at the back. You got, I don't know if you could see the fingerprints on here. You might be able to, there we go. The XS Max gets a lot of fingerprints. Oops, I opened Facebook. The XS Max gets a lot of fingerprints on here, which the 13 Pro Max, it does, but it's got, ooh, I'm calling, oops. The 13 Pro Max has more of a, I think it's, the word is a matte back. It has a matte back where you don't see as many fingerprints and it's so much easier to grip. It's like, it's hard to say if I like the display, or not the display, the body on the 13 Pro Max versus the XS Max. They're both stainless steel. You've got a more rounded body and finish on the XS Max, which I didn't mind. I just found it a little harder to grip when it's like naked, I guess, or without a case. And then the 13 Pro Max, I felt it was more grippy. It looks a little bit thicker than the XS Max, which thickness, it doesn't really matter for me. Like if it's a bit thicker and if it can last a long time and if you can get better battery life, then yeah, then it's worth it. Even the cameras are so much better on this phone. Let's go to the thickness. I don't know if you can tell, but the 13 Pro Max is just a hair thicker, I think. It's really, or wait, no. Actually, no, a hair thinner, that's what I meant. But it's the camera bump that might be throwing it off. It's 6.65 millimeters thick and 6.7 millimeters thick on the XS Max. The 13 Pro Max has 5G, which the XS Max does not. It supports only up to 4G LTE. The XS Max has a dual telephoto camera, where the 13 Pro Max has a telephoto, a wide, an ultra wide, and you can get zoom up to 6 times optical, where the XS Max you can only get up to 2 times, which not too bad, but you know what? I've noticed the camera is actually significantly better compared to the two phones. I don't know if it's gonna show on here because I don't have the range, but let's see. Look how big the zoom is. I might have to show you some photos. My hands aren't too steady, but as you can see, it zooms in a lot more. Plus, you got the addition of the ultra wide, which honestly is a lot better because like you can take wider angle photos overall. And if you're into photography, it's a lot better. You even get like cinematic video at 1080p, 30 FPS if you have the 128 gig model on the 13 Pro Max. You also get ProRes and And yeah, you get even MagSafe, which it's a huge upgrade if you get it. The Tennis Max doesn't technically support MagSafe, but it will work because it's a wireless charger. But like, you wouldn't really want to use it because it's not gonna stick. It's gonna just fall off. Wow, this is really secure. I didn't think it'd be that secure on this phone. Wow. On here it works. See, it's charging. But yeah, that's pretty much it there. In terms of storage, the XS Max comes in 64, 256, and 512 gigabytes. Where the 13 Pro Max, it has way more storage. You can get 128 gigs, 256 gigabytes, 512 gigabytes, or 1 terabyte of storage, which, I mean, that's a lot of storage. And also, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but the 13 Pro Max has a 120 hertz refresh rate display. So if you don't know what that means, it means the display continuously refreshes at 120 frames a second, where the XS Max has only a 60 hertz screen where it's only refreshing at 60 times per second, which it's still pretty good, but I feel like unless you have these side by side, the XS Max won't seem too much slower in terms of the refresh rate or smoother on the 13 Pro Max, but it's hard to judge right now. I only noticed it on scrolling so far. I haven't been able to tell yet because I haven't tested too many games on here, but it also can drop to like 10 hertz. So if you want to save battery life by watching like a movie or something, it'll probably save you much more battery life than like say a 12 Pro Max if you're not using if you're using a static screen. That's what I meant. And then it actually has a much better CPU. You go from the A12 Bionic chip and 4 gigabytes of RAM to the A15 Bionic chip with 6 gigabytes of RAM. And it also has, so it goes from a 4-core GPU to a 5-core GPU, and then you go from you go from an 8-core neural engine to a 16-core neural engine. So if you're gaming, you will notice a pretty significant jump in terms of performance from the XS Max or XS to 13 Pro or XS to 13 Pro, any of those models. You also get like Wi-Fi 6, which it's a pretty nice upgrade because Wi-Fi 6 has better range. It's honestly more stable than Wi-Fi 5. Face ID should be identical. I haven't noticed too many improvements. I think it's a bit better because which phone was it? I'm pretty sure the 11 Pro Max had better Face ID. I'm at a weird angle, but they appear to be identical. And I didn't do that right. They're pretty close. Face ID doesn't really, it's maybe a hair faster on the 13 Pro Max. Yes, it is faster. That's what I've noticed. It's pretty close. I'm just not swiping because I'm not used to the bigger form factor. They're pretty close. I do think it might be a bit faster on the 13 Pro Max, but it's really close. I've also noticed the speakers are a lot more clear and louder. So let me find a YouTube video that is non-copyright. So just give me 1 second and I'll be right back. Okay, these should be non-copyrighted. If they're not, I'm gonna have to pause them, but these appear to be non-copyrighted. So let's play these at the maybe not the exact same time, but let's test the quality of the audio. All right. There we go. You got the audio here. Let's go Here, let me get Siri to set the volume to 50%. Set the volume to 50%.
Media volume set to 50%.
Beautiful. Okay, they're both set to 50%. Let's go to about around here, and then that should get things done. Let's go to about 26 seconds. There, this will be more fair. I forgot to do that. There we go. It sounds like it's got better quality audio. And it also sounds louder. Yeah, significantly louder. Yeah, so they're both pretty good, but the 13 Pro Max has way better audio. Also, I want to talk about the battery life between these two devices. The XS Max, the battery was not very good. Like, I've played around with multiple iPhones, and if I went from an A Plus to a XS Max, and I honestly felt the XS Max was a battery downgrade. But then when I went to the 13 Pro Max, the battery life was incredible. Because when you go from the XS Max to an 11 Pro Max, it lasts around, I think, 5 hours more than that. And this, it's rated for 2.5 hours more than the 12 Pro Max. So I'm assuming you should get maybe, that means it's rated for up to 7 hours more, if that's accurate. Which I've noticed I've got almost double the screen on time from the XS Max to moving to the 13 Pro Max, which is incredible. Going back to build quality, yeah, they're identical. I haven't really noticed a difference in build quality, although you get the ceramic shield, which from what I've heard, display on the 13 Pro Max is significantly stronger in drop resistance, which it's not bad, which I haven't wanted to test the drop test because ceramic shield is also quite nice. It makes your phone up to 4 times more durable on the front glass, which is pretty significant increase over the older iPhones. I got a screen protector on here, so it might be just a tad cracked, but that's okay. If you want, I can do a speed test after between these two phones, hopefully soon. The 13 Pro Max also has a significantly better water resistance. So for the XS Max, it's only water resistant for 2 meters up to 30 minutes. And then the 13 Pro Max blows that out of the water, where you get up to 6 meters for 30 minutes. Which, I mean, if you're a photographer or if you're a swimmer, that's a pretty big difference. I wouldn't recommend dropping the phone in the water, but I mean, if it happens, it happens. And it'll protect your phone a lot more than like the older models. So, overall, is it worth it? What are you gaining? What are you losing between the two phones? So, I forgot to mention, but when you go from the XS Max to the 13 Pro Max or any newer iPhone, you lose 3D Touch. So if you like 3D Touch and you don't want to lose it, which I don't think it's a big deal anymore because of all the sacrifices, but this phone does not have 3D Touch. What else do you get? So you get 5G, which is a pretty significant upgrade. You get vastly improved cameras. You get a better telephoto lens, better wide angle lens, better ultra wide lens. I can't believe I didn't mention the night mode, but you also get night mode on, I'm pretty sure it's all the cameras. I want to test the 2 camera differences soon, but you do get night mode on, I'm pretty sure, all of these. You also get a much better processor. So if you want a game or if you want a phone that lasts at least 2 or 3 more years later, in terms of software updates, you'll get that. In terms of battery life, you can get significantly better battery life on the 13 Pro or 13 Pro Max if you jump from a XS or XS Max, any of those versions. You get a it looks like you get better Face ID. I think it's more accurate on my 13 Pro Max, a little bit. You also get a significantly better display in terms of brightness. I've noticed it's a much different color, like it looks more color accurate. You also get MagSafe, which I honestly find it really cool. I like it. Oh, you also get a much smaller notch. I don't know if I can show it in this video. Let's see if it'll show. There, this might be good. There, so you got this notch here. It's also 20% smaller. So there is the notch. And there is the XS Max notch. So this one's 13 Pro Max. And here's the XS Max notch. So it's about 30%, or not, about 20% smaller. My bad. 20% smaller than the previous models, which it does make a difference, but I didn't really notice too much of a difference in terms of like getting any extra screen. All it really does matter is that it doesn't cut in as much. So it's not a huge deal, but you get the 120 Hertz display with an adaptive refresh rate where it can scroll between 10 and 120 Hertz depending on your situation. So if you're watching a movie without touching the screen, the refresh rate should drop to around 30 FPS or 30 Hertz, which it looks like it should save you a lot better battery life. The phone is a little bit bigger, which I forgot to mention, but I'll mention it now. The XS Max is 157.5 millimeters tall, and then the 13 Pro Max is 160.8 millimeters tall. So it's a little bit taller. The width of the phone is pretty close, but the XS Max has 77.4 millimeters in width, whereas in the 13 Pro Max, you get 78.1 millimeters in width, slightly wider. The depth is identical, like I mentioned earlier. You got 7.65 millimeters on the 13 Pro Max and then 7.7 millimeters on the XS Max. Where I've noticed also a pretty big increase is in the weight. It goes from 208 grams in weight on the XS Max to 238 grams on the 13 Pro Max. I've also noticed for some reason the US models are 2 grams heavier on the 13 Pro Max. I don't know why that's the case, but that's interesting. So if you want better cameras, better battery life, a better screen, better durability, it honestly is worth it. If you have any model, I'd say under an 11 Pro or Pro Max, you could argue it's definitely worth it. If you obviously can afford it and you're willing to spend the money, then yeah, I can recommend this phone. If you have like any older than an 11 or an 11, you'll notice a pretty big difference. Because if you come from a 10R, which is in the same generation as the 10S series, you will notice a significantly better display, quite a bit better cameras. You'll notice, what else? You got 5G, you'll get much better battery life. So it depends on what models for you, but I'm comparing the Pro Max to the Max of the XS Max. Just to clear that up, it's the 13 Pro Max to the XS Max, so it's the Max series. So like if you're going from like an iPhone 12 series, I don't recommend it because it's not that big of an upgrade other than just battery life and 120 Hertz and maybe camera, but unless you're like a photographer or anything in that category, I don't even know if I'd recommend it. Like it's very subtle, but it's a decent upgrade. Like this video, leave a like, comment what phone do you have now? What phone are you going to currently upgrade to? Do you want to upgrade to a 13 Pro, an iPhone 12? Like which iPhone do you plan on upgrading to if you feel like it? Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe.